I think we're all here. I think we're assembled. Dance break.
So is
I call this my Muppet.
So is Simone here? No Simone, yes Simone.
Simone.
No Simone.
Listen, when we see Simone, we will let Simone in. Oh, I see the participants filling up. This is going to be Liddy City tonight. Good evening, everyone within the sound of my voice. I am telling you, I've never been more excited about conversation in my life. Good evening. I am Carla Stillwell, director, playwright, cultural historian of Black Joy, and producer at Collaboraction. Welcome to the 29th episode of Crucial Connections. It's been 29 episodes since the pandemic. Imagine. And I'm just going to let you in on a little secret. The next time we do this, you might see us in person if you're in the Chicago area. But we'll still stream. Yay! Anyway, in honor of Women's History Month, our topic tonight is feminism and intersectionality, addressing the needs of BIPOC, cis, and trans women. Crucial Connections is Collaboration's monthly gathering around the digital campfire to cultivate our connection and personal obligation to each other. In honor of our BIPOC sisters, it is ladies' night here. This is a very, very, very special show. I have invited a very, very, very special person to co-host. Longtime Collaboration company member, my dear friend, Sandra Delgado. Let me tell you a little bit about Sandra before we bring her whole beautiful face to the forefront. Sandra Delgado is a Colombian American writer, actor, singer, and producer, born and raised in Chicago, like me. She is best known for her play La Havana, Madrid, which enjoyed sold-out runs at Steppenwolf and Goodman Theater, and most recently in a co-production with Teatro Vista and Collaboraction. Sandra is also a respected veteran of the stage with a career spanning 2 decades, in addition to her work at her artistic homes, Teatro Vista and Collaboraction. She has been seen on stages across Chicago, the Goodman, Looking Glass, Victory Gardens, About Face. Recent highlights include the titular role in La Havana, Madrid, La Ruta at Steppenwolf, and starring off-Broadway in the Public Theater's production of Oedipus El Rey as Ocasta. Sandra is a 2021 United States Artist Fellow, serves on the board of Chicago Public Library, served on the City of Chicago's Cultural Advisory Council in 2019 through 2021, and is a resident playwright at Chicago Dramatist. Sandra!
What? Hi! We're co-hosting the show.
What? Pop lock, we got rid of those guys.
We'll just do this for the next hour. No, we're not going to do that.
No.
We got some good
but
stuff.
There will be other dance. I suspect we'll have other dance breaks.
I think we should. Carla, thank you so much for inviting me tonight. And have been really looking forward to this. We do have a little housekeeping before we get started. Luca, take it away. Join us in this work by becoming a Collaboraction member. Do it. You can do it for just $1 a month. That's only $12 a year to support and sustain our work to incite social change, and you're going to receive some great benefits. If you're not already a member, just go to, like swag, like that cute mug. If you're not already a member, just go to collaboraction.org to learn more and join today. And there's going to be a link for you in the chat. Now, this is very important. For those of you who may not know, tomorrow, March 18th, is a national holiday. It is Carla Stillwell's birthday. One of the ways that we want to celebrate the Carlabration is to share one of Collaboraction's favorite creations with you. Yes, Oh Colonizers. You can gift Carla by streaming this project that Carla wrote, starred in, produced, and one that Collaboraction is super, super, super proud of. Yes, our Pisces queen. And the link for that is also in the chat. It is, how long is it, Carla? Like 20 minutes about?
It's not even. It's 11 minutes long, but it feels full. You'll watch it a couple of times.
Yeah, it's 11 minutes well spent. You will not regret it. It's really funny and it'll make you think, and I love it.
Now, also, as we celebrate my birthday and Women's History Month, we have to celebrate one of my favorite women, my co-host, Sandra Delgado, and her new show debuting May 1st, the Sandra Delgado Experience, a fusion of music and storytelling. Please visit her website at www.sandradelgado.net for more information, and the link will be in the chatty chat.
Yeah,
so you have to see it.
Thank you. It's one night only, May 1st, and I'm giving the Collab fam a discount code, $5 off general admission tickets with the code COLLAB. So get to the website.
And I suspect we're going to get that one night, and then we're going to get some more nights. That's just my sneaky suspicion.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you. So for our topic this evening, feminism and intersectionality, addressing the needs of BIPOC, cis, and trans women, we have a very special panel of guest speakers. And our guests are going to help us frame this conversation in a way that I know is going to open the doors to a rich discussion that is going to move us all forward in our thinking and help us lean into, what we can all do together to create change and foster healing. So our guest tonight is another birthday girl, actually, another Pisces queen, Wendy Mateo, who is co-artistic director of Teatro Vista that I am a member of. I'm so happy she's here. She is a Chicago-based director, comedian, actor, writer, and filmmaker. Like I said, Wendy is co-artistic director of Teatro Vista, a 31-year-old Latina-founded theater company serving artists of color in the Midwest. And Wendy is also an artistic associate at Looking Glass Theater. Wendy's favorite place to perform is with her creative partner, Lorena Diaz, in Lolo and Wendy content. The duo have been friends, a performance duo and writing team for 20 years, and are now leading Teatro Vista together. The duo, this is super exciting, are gearing up to film their 4th short film together, Hair, this summer, in partnership with Full Spectrum Features and powered by a grant from Latino Public Broadcasting. Wendy's purpose is rooted in broadening representation in media to include a multiplicity of identities and experiences. She is an equity, diversity, and inclusion consultant and facilitator with the Nova Collective. And with her own consulting company, Wendy, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you how to pronounce this. I don't know if it's Ina or Ina, you will correct me. Ina Consulting, where she partners with Miranda Gonzalez, the artistic director of Urban Theater Company. Now, Minita Gandhi, they, is an actress, writer, healer, and arts leader who was born in Mumbai, India. She currently resides in Los Angeles, but has strong roots in Chicago and the Bay Area. She is most known for her critically acclaimed solo show, Motherland, which has played at theaters and universities around the country, y'all. She loves writing dark comedies, exploring magic realism and poetry. As an actor, she's enjoyed playing regionally on the stage, and some of her favorite TV and film roles include Dr. Prosper on Chicago Fire, the Onion News Network's anchor, Nina Shankar, and you can hear her voice, Shuma, Minita, you're gonna have to help me with this one, Mukherjee, and others on Disney's Mixed Up Adventures. Minita is the founder of Ignite, a mentorship program for BIPOC women and non-binary theater artists that connects emerging artists to national theater leaders, and is the co-founder for Pathways, a new 2-year mentorship and professional development program for gender diverse BIPOC being developed in partnership with Age and Art in Portland. In 2021, she worked with Age, Advanced Gender Equity in the Arts, as their national program director, and she teaches programs of artivism and supports survivors, and is the CEO of Minita Studio, where she offers healing, meditation, and manifestation coaching.
What?
You two are amazing.
Who are these? Who are they? Like, where do we get this lucky?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, let's bring our panel into the room. So I can, look at all of this. Look at all of the lovely melanin. It's just so yummy. Hi. Now, I am so happy to have you both. Where's my Wendy's face? That's my birthday twin.
I'm having a video breakdown. I don't know what happened. I know. I'm here.
It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. So you have 1 second to okay. You got a little time to get that video together, because I'm gonna turn it over to Sandra real quick, because we do want to add some context for our audience around this conversation, so that we can all like have a starting point to really talk about why this topic is important. So Sandra, take it away.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be great to just start with, and this is just a conversation we're having, we're just having a conversation. And so we thought it'd be great to just start with the definition of what feminist theory is. So feminist theory has traditionally been understood as the extension of feminism into the theoretical, into the fictional or philosophical discourse. Its aim is to understand the nature of gender inequality. It examines women's and men's social roles, their experiences, their interests, chores, and feminist politics in a variety of fields. So we're talking anthropology, sociology, communication, media studies, psychoanalysis, political theory, home economics, literature, education, philosophy. This is a big, big honking thing that we are not here to solve tonight, but rather just have conversation. Where's this striking you, So feminist theory often focuses on analyzing gender inequality. And themes often explored in feminist theory include discrimination, objectification, especially sexual objectification, oppression, patriarchy, stereotyping, art history and contemporary art, and aesthetics. So with all of this mouthful I just gave y'all, with this understanding of what feminist theory is, where and how do you as BIPOC women feel included in that conversation? What resonates with you? What does this have you thinking about?
I mean, well, first of all, that definition has me thinking they need to add economics into there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's such a real thing, and there was such disparity in the economics. But thinking about, first of all, when I think about intersection and intersectionality, I also just think about all of us as individuals. Everybody's intersectionality is different, and just what are we at the intersection of? All of us are embracing different things, and then there's places where we align and have shared experience. And I feel, I feel if I'm remembering my history right, I feel like intersectional feminism really came out in like the late 80s or like early 90s is when that started really becoming a term that was used. But I feel that in my own personal experience, I feel like that wasn't really brought into the world, where I felt like it was important to people around me that weren't BIPOC women necessarily, until like the past 2-3 years, if I'm being very, very honest, where I felt like it was really on the forefront of people's minds. Because I think for a long time, right, and that's why it came out, when we think about gender inequity or we think about feminism, it's always been about white women. It hasn't really been including us. And so I'm really excited that we're having this conversation right now, and I'm hopeful that at some point we'll have to stop having this conversation because it won't be necessary. So I don't know, those are my initial thoughts.
While Wendy is still dealing with the tech monster, you said something, Minita, that Sandra and I were talking about earlier. It's about what this means for brown and Black women. What's the difference? You brought up economics. What else from this is missing for you from this conversation when we talk about this, like Sandra said, this big, ginormous mouthful of words that's very 30,000 feet?
I mean, it's not really a sphere, but I think about just opportunity and access. I feel like that's such an important part of this conversation, is even within all of those realms and all of those fields, that's the thing that always seems to be a missing link is access. It seems to me that when obviously when we look at history books, there's been so much erasure of so many people's stories, right? Everything is really narrowed through the white man's lens or the white woman's lens or a certain group in particular. And, I feel like just in history, we've been erased. And I'm wondering right now, how we combat that. And I feel like technology is actually doing us a huge, is really helping us with that, because we're able to share things, we're able to connect more to each other, we're able to amplify our stories that way. But I feel like just our own history and storytelling, and I don't know what the other word is, but I just keep thinking about access and opportunity. That's the other thing I think about that's missing.
My Wendy's face is back.
Hi, y'all.
Yay!
We have no explanations. Hey, everybody.
It doesn't matter. You are here now.
Yes.
Listen, I know you've had a chance to read this whole feminist theory, big mouthful of words. And Minita just offered us some amazing insight. Yours.
The question was, how do we feel included in this conversation? And I think that mostly it's not even included is the word. I just feel we haven't been considered, right? In terms of, I facilitate on themes of diversity, equity, and inclusion in corporate spaces. And I think what impacts folks so much is when we reflect on our own identity. And it really blows their minds because most folks of the homogenous group don't really have a chance to reflect on their own identity. Whereas women of color, we are confronted with it every day. Just the other day, I was at a kids' party and I was the only adult woman, Black Latina of color. And I was asked if I was the nanny of the of the child's birthday. And I was like, no, but it took me a second to be able to answer to this 6-year-old child who asked me if I was the nanny. It's not her fault, but she is not used to seeing me in her spaces. And so there are times when you are just going about your day and, microaggressions don't stop because people haven't had that time to consider their own identities and to consider how, when white women talk about feminism, they're talking from their place of experience. And, that's the only experience they have. What they haven't considered is that the intersection of all of these other marginalized identities compounds how we feel about our own femininity, compounds how we walk through the world as a woman. So not feeling included? No, I'd like to be considered.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. I'm going to stop. I'm going to rewind the tape because the homie Simone is in the house. So we want to give Simone her proper intro and read that bio real quick and so everybody knows the greatness that is in the room. And then I'm going to tell y'all a story of what happened to my Black face at the DuSable Museum of African American History.
Y'all, this
is why I laughed so hard. This is why I laughed so hard, Wendy, when you said that, because it just happened to me at the show I produced. So, Sandra, if you would not mind, let's go back so we can give our sister Simone the proper intro.
Hi, Simone. We are
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here this evening. I'm sorry I'm late.
No worries.
We're just sitting around a virtual living room having a combo. We are good. You are right on time. And I do want to let everyone know a little bit about who you are, what you do. So Simone Gray, since her youth, has held aspirations to be part of the film and television industry. Growing up in West suburban Chicago exposed her to an array of cultures and lifestyles and social settings. Of the millennial generation, she actually felt absent to the onset of the digital age in her youth and instilled the value of verbal communication expressed with linguistic poise. I like that. With guest appearances on productions such as Empire and Chicago Med, and as of late, Showtime's hit series The Chi, and having shared the screen with A-list names including Russell Hornsby, Twilight's Rachel Lefevre, and Academy Award nominated Gabori Sidibe, it's clear to see that this young starlet is well on her way. Finding enjoyment in the artistry and practice of creating reactions, her daily aim is to help folks experience healing across the emotional and physical spectrums. In addition to her craft, Miss Gray is pursuing, check this out, y'all, a bachelor's degree in molecular biology. She's eager to attend medical school, and after completing her residency, Simone plans to become a board-certified cosmetic dermatologist. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share this space with wonderful, inspiring women. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we were kind of in the thick of this first question. We talked about what feminist theory means, and we asked, where and how, and do you as a BIPOC woman feel included in that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely do. Most definitely, as a woman, as a Black woman of so many different identities, I understand the place that I have and the responsibility that I have in, today's day and age. I am like I said, like you read, the millennial generation. So I'm older, I'm 32. And so I'm in that age where I can kind of connect with and speak to those of like the boomer generation, and then those of Gen Z, the younger ones, and kind of use my, I guess, we all have different privileges, whether it's beautiful woman privilege or, all different types of privileges that we are afforded, some and all. But using my intellectual privilege, so to speak, I feel like it is my responsibility to speak up or to kind of transcribe or translate different issues that the younger generation might be experiencing, and kind of bridge that gap between the boomers and Gen Z of all races, speaking up for women of color particularly is part of my feminism that keeps me interconnected with my womanhood. So if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Listen, Wendy brought up the microaggressions. I'm gonna tell y'all a story. Then I'm gonna reference something that just happened a few days ago in our culture, and then we're gonna talk about it. So, Collaboraction just did this amazing Emmett Till production, Trial in the Delta. We staged the actual trial, from the trial transcript from the men that killed Emmett Till. I worked very hard on this. Very proud of this as a producer. So I decided that on that day in Black history, and it was at the DuSable Museum of African American History, okay? So I decided on that day in Black history, I was gonna actually watch a show, because as a producer and a director, and you do a lot of behind the scenes, you don't really get to watch what you do. So I was like, I'm watching this show. I put myself a little reserve sign on a nice seat. Show starts. I filter in. I plop my little self in my seat. There's a white woman sitting to my left. Before my ass can hit the seat, she goes, "That seat is reserved." And I said to her, "Oh yeah, I'm reserved. That's me, reserved." 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. So who are you? Are you the writer? Like, who are you? And because I've been to anger management since I was 30, I'll be 49 tomorrow. But since I've been in anger management for 19 years, I said, I'm reserved. No more words. End of the night, closing speeches, and we had this beautiful, crucial conversation. It was amazing. And our artistic director, Anthony Mosley, is a huge white man with a big personality. So at the end of the night, he's jazzed, he's jacked, and he's thanking everybody. And he's like, "Everybody in Collaboration, all the team, we all did this. Everybody stand up, raise your hand, da da da." And he goes, "Oh, and we have to thank our producer, Carla Stillwell," he points to me. The white woman looks, and I see her out the corner of my eye. And then she disappears in a cloud of smoke. I don't know what happened to her, I don't care. But it's that to that point about, do I need you to value me, or do I need you to consider me? How do we as women of color need the respect to come, right? So this just happened during the 2022 Critics' Choice Awards. Director Jane Campion made an interesting comment about tennis greats Venus and Serena Williams during her acceptance speech for The Power of the Dog. I don't know what that is. I haven't seen it. She began her speech by thanking her presenter and the Critics' Choice Association for an honor. Campion praised evening's See Her award winner Halle Berry before turning her attention over to Venus and Serena Williams. Serena and Venus, which is already disrespectful because Venus is older. You already started with the disrespect, sis, but I'll wait. Serena and Venus, you are such marvels. However, you don't play against the guys like I have to. Campion, after a swift Twitter backlash, because you know Twitter went in on her, issued this apology. Quote, I made a thoughtless comment equating what I do in the film world with all that Serena Williams and Venus Williams, again, the disrespect. Venus, you may know Serena, but Venus is the, anyway. Serena Williams and Venus Williams have achieved. I did not intend to devalue these two legendary Black women and world-class athletes. The fact is that Williams sisters have actually squared off against men on the court and off, and they have both, let me read that again. The fact is that the Williams sisters have actually squared off against men on the court and off, parenthetically. And they have both raised the bar and opened doors for what is possible for women in this world. The last thing I would ever want to do is minimize remarkable women. I love Serena and Venus. Their accomplishments are titanic and inspiring. Serena and Venus, I apologize and completely celebrate you. Mm-hmm. So I ask the room, are Campion's comments reflective of the lack of intersectionality across the feminist movement? Free for all.
I mean, the short answer is yes, right? Because that idea about consideration that I brought up. Well, I do have to also point out there is another part of the quote, Carla, that we didn't highlight, which is first when the speech, which is first when she jokingly asked them to teach her, to give her tennis lessons. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, yes. We're already starting on the wrong foot. We are not here at the Critics' Choice Awards for you to joke about how I'm going to come over amongst all the things that I'm doing to play tennis with you, Jane Campion. That's one that really bothered me. I was already bothering me before the rest of the quote. But I think it's that, again, that idea of that lack of awareness around the things that you say and how they land. This is a classic case of intention versus impact. Your intention was to make a cute speech, to talk about women, but you did not consider what these Black women sitting there who started out as tennis players, sitting there in the Critics' Choice Awards for their film, and all the things they have done in order to be in that room. And you did not consider what your comments about how they had to fight men, how that would land on Black women who came up in a time where they were not regarded and continue to be disrespected in media consistently. And so this is not about the oppression Olympics, because, this is not about I'm marginalized more than you. It's about your awareness on how that intersection lands on Black women and women of color. Not considered. They just don't consider it because it's not a part of their experience, and they don't step outside of their experience to learn. Instead, she made a joke about them educating her, and it took all of Black Twitter to have her reflect on that. And that is where I get upset, even in my sessions where I have to be like, Zoom face. Today I'm like, you know what? I don't have to do my Zoom face, just like the blank stare. when you have women who say, well, I haven't been marginalized that way, or I don't feel privileged that way. Well, of course not. We don't all experience marginalization or dominance in the same way, but we must consider that it may be the experience of other folks in the room.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel. I'm sorry.
No sorries.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
It's interesting that you brought that up. I had a similar experience yesterday. So I'm constantly trying to stay, just up to date with everything that's going on, especially when we have the big stories like Ukraine and Russia and stuff like that. So I wanted to find out more information about the WNBA basketball player.
Brittany.
Brittany, is it
Mhm.
Griner?
Yes. Brittany Gaynor, I think it is.
Okay, so I
Mhm.
know that she was spoken about in an article that was actually written by the BBC. The most recent article yesterday that popped up on my Google search was that of a journalist who writes for the BBC. And of course, I wanted to find out the most current information about the topic. And I'm like, all right, fine. I rolled my eyes at the idea of reading an article written by the BBC because we know, at least I know, some of us are aware that they're not very, fact-based journalism, just kind of all of UK. Their journalists are just really sideshow-like, very tabloid-like, even the reputable networks and stuff like that. I mean, we can look at Meghan Markle and the way they just like completely tore her apart in the tabloids, or actually just in regular articles. But I was like, okay, so I started reading the article, and of course, right away, there was one specific, I couldn't even finish it because I got to, she said, in the security footage, she wears running shoes, black sweatpants, and a black hoodie with Black Lives for Peace written on the back. Her dark hair hanging in, she said, braids down past her shoulders. Now, so a lot of folks probably, I'm sure didn't notice. The journalists didn't notice, and we know, seeing this woman, she's got dreadlocks, right? And for this writer, this white woman writing about a story about a Black American woman, I just found it very offensive that it said braids. Her hair is not in braids. Her hair is in dreadlocks. Anybody knows when you look. Now, unless you just, quick glance, don't really take it in, whatever, she's Black, braids, it's gotta be braids. Could you imagine if one of us said, a white woman with blonde hair, if we said, oh, the lady with the gray hair, I mean, especially putting that in an article, folks would be like, it's blonde, So I took it upon myself. I scrolled up, found the author, because sometimes I just can't hold back. And I went to her Twitter and I just wrote her a nice little tweet. I'm not really good on the tweets, but I was like, okay, let me try this. So, and I don't have a big following on Twitter. I kind of just use it for my own, whatever I feel is necessary. But I said, I understand you wrote this article. Her hair is not in braids. Her hair is in locks, dreadlocks. I said, please be correct when writing about people of color by showing that you as a journalist are culturally aware. And I woke up today and I was going to send another because she didn't reply. And so I just went back to the article to see, and then she had changed the word from braids to locks. And I'm like, okay, all right, good. Because this is the UK, and we all know the way Black folks and people of color experience discrimination in the UK is very, very large in comparison to what we deal with, because they're years and years behind in terms of the fight for equality. So I just thought it was very important for me. No one else said anything about it. I was the only one who took it upon myself. And I'm very thankful that she acknowledged that and she corrected it. But that means, that means the difference between showing respect for a group of individuals that you may not identify with, but just to kind of say, I see you, I know you,
Right.
I think it's
Right.
important. That was my.
But Simone, I'm gonna even take your point a step further, right? Because yes, and it's the anti-Blackness of it all across the world.
Right.
And I say that because I've spent time in other countries, and there are the colorism of it all, the anti-Blackness of it all. And because that is part of, I'm going to keep going back to Wendy's point, that's part of the non-consideration. That's part of the dismissal. The fact that you don't know the difference between, every time I hear somebody talk about boxer braids, or I see a daggone Kardashian with cornrows, I get in my feelings. I get mad, I start fighting. Because what people don't understand is on the Baracoon, right? In Africa, during the slave trade, the Baracoon, the beaches, was where my people were housed until there was enough cargo to ship. So people didn't know where they were going, what was happening. And part of the ritual was to braid seeds into the hair, because they knew they would need food, but they didn't know where they were going. That's why there's ochre in the United States. It was because the food was sewn into our hair. When we got here, the cornrows were used as a map. The cornrows were used, the braids were used as part of this is how you get north to freedom. So you can't just Bo Derek that shit, my nigga. Like, oh, I said it anyway. You can't just Bo Derek it. Like, this is my culture. This is my life, right? People do not understand that locks are a religious practice. But back to that, we're not considered. And I'm fairly certain that Minita and Sandra have the same kind. They have stories that are cultural, that this is where we have to get to, right? So I'm glad you dinged her for that. But the bigger ding is the anti-Blackness of it all, the anti-color of it all. The idea that white feminism, white women, and white women's issues are the touchstone, the paramount, the thing, the center, without considering all the things that bake women intersection across the board. Minita, you're leaning in.
Well, I mean, yes, and also horrific no to all of this, right? Because it's such a part of the world and the culture that we live in. All of these stories, all of these microaggressions, and as I'm, Carla, as you were just saying, like, oh, you probably have some things you're thinking about. I mean, yeah, it's, I'm listening to everyone here, and it's literally all these things happened just this week. And that's just this week, right? These are all recent stories. This isn't like this one time when I was, 8 years
when
old,
I was
this
7.
thing happened. These are things that we're constantly dealing with. And I always feel a little bit stuck in that how do I get out of the role of being the educator in something too? Sometimes a lot of times in my life, I think, especially when I was younger, I didn't mind it as much because it was like it was what I grew up doing. It was just part of who I was, right? You have to yes, it's necessary to have these conversations over and over and over again. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized, but wait, why do I have to be the one that is always educating? Why can't it be on all of us to, first of all, live in a mindset of, how do I create safe space for everyone in the room? Like, why isn't that something we're taught from the time we're young? Why are we not taught to just literally look around our space, or think about who is in the audience and say, of course, there are going to be people who are not exactly like me. We are made, right? We're all individuals, and we live individually and collectively. So how can I, in just my being, make this space a safer space? And by safer, just really making sure everybody is seen and heard, that everybody feels equally valued. How can I make sure everybody's equally valued in just the way I speak and my own actions? And just to be able to have that kind of an education, why isn't that part of our society? I think about that all the time. And I especially think about that right now. I have a 9-month-old, and I am constantly thinking about, what is this world that I've brought her into? And how do we make this world better, right? Probably the same things that all of our parents thought about, and their parents before them. And I think about what an education is, and how part of that education needs to be how we think and how we are in relationship to each other, so that she doesn't have to grow up in spaces. I'm thinking about just conversations I had this week on a creative process, when I was talking about, wanting to have South Asian composers, and what the director was left with was, oh, well, we have a sound designer, so you're bringing in experts on some, or so we're bringing in somebody for their expertise. And I was like, no, I want to bring in a composer. Like, I'm thinking about them more holistically to tell the story. It's just in our language and the way that we think, to the place where people don't even realize that the microaggression is within them. So I think the other thing I think about is, for everybody, ourselves included, because I think about that for myself. I should just say, for myself, we all grew up in the same system. So as I think about, how do I challenge things that are going on in the system that I see as oppressive, or, how do I constantly always challenge myself to make sure I am constantly ridding myself of the things that the system has put in me? That was just a lot. I don't know why I just went all the way there.
No, you know why you went
you.
there? No, let me tell you why you went there. So I've been mad for a week, right? Because of Emmett Till and American Opera in New York at John Gray College. That's supposed to premiere on the 23rd of this month.
When are we going?
So let me tell you, on my broom, I'm going on my broom, I'm flying with my cauldron, hubble bubble, toil and trouble, because Claire Koss, this white woman who was, I guess she was at college age when the Till situation happened in Money, Mississippi. She was in Baton Rouge. She was in college in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, when this happened, and she felt progressive, and she didn't like the racism, but she did nothing. So she didn't do nothing for 50 years. And then in 2013-14, she decided to write about it, right? So some white folks gave this broad money to produce a whole play where there was a fictional character dropped into the Till story, a fictional white woman who was a school teacher who just sat around and just felt bad. The whole character's motivation is, this is wrong, but I will do nothing. Fast forward, some of her good white girlfriends told her, girl, this should be an opera. So now, some more white people done gave this woman money, right, to write the opera. It is being produced. Anti-Blackness and anti-womanness is not It does not just live inside, and this is why this conversation we're having tonight is important. It doesn't just live outside of women of color, it lives inside of us. Internalized racism is real, internalized patriarchy is real. So they went out and they sprinkled the money around the people of color to co-sign this and to be a part of the creation of this bull. And then Minita, this is why you're saying this. So now there's an opera being created about this white woman, the center of the story. We're not talking about Mamie Till, who lost her son. We're not talking about Emmett Till, who lost his life. We're not talking about his uncle that was there and could not fight these white men to keep his nephew alive. We're not talking about any of that. What we're talking about in this opera is this white woman who feels really bad that she didn't do anything, and she gets to sing about it.
It goes back to the consideration that Wendy was talking about. What were the conversations around this project?
Well, that's what I do want to flag something that Minita said too, right? Because, we are trained because of the system that we grew up in. We're talking about, Minita said, I'm trying to bring in, what people don't realize is that we don't ask the questions of who is not in the room and why. Every time I'm in a room, I'm confronted with all the people who are not there so that I can feel good and included. They step into room after room after room after room and never ask, why isn't there a South Asian composer here to tell this story? Why isn't there a Latino EP? Telling all these stories about thugs on the street in our crime shows. Why aren't those people there? They're not trained to ask that question. But when I step into a room and I see a homogenous situation, I ask, why am I the only one here?
Right.
And I think that is the only way to disrupt these biases that continue to perpetuate. And I thought the same thing too, Minita. I'm like, look at all these stories that happened this week. I said, I could tell a million, right? But I just told the one, but actually two happened in the week. And Carla felt one in her own show. And then, Simone felt something. So like all of these things happen in the week. So you can't say to me, you don't see color. You can't say to me, I don't experience marginalization that way. You can't say that because you have never considered why you are the only person or why you don't feel that. And all these women just all of a sudden feel this.
Right. So, all right. Because at some point we all have to go get dinner.
We could go on.
Because this could go on. Like we could pause it, go get dinner, come back.
Before we move on to the next question, I just want to say, I know like we started off with like this really big definition of feminist theory, and really, what's really bubbling up for me is really like the consideration and just being seen. Like, yes, I have a million stories, and I would say to our white friends that are in the Zoom room with us, like, this is a very real thing that is happening to us constantly. And sometimes it's our friends that are doing it to us. And so really on like the most granular level, it is just a matter of, get that word, Wendy, just like the consideration of how we take each other in, listen to each other, and talk to each other. So we're
I'm gonna give you one more because I'm starting. I tried to move it forward, but look at me. Starting mess. To Sandra's point, because I want my non-melanated sisters to walk away with this. Never say you don't see color. Because when you start talking about, well, you're all my friends, I don't see color. That means you don't see me. You don't see my struggle. You don't see the exceptions. You don't see what I have to go through as a woman and as your friend. Let's think about our good girlfriend circles, right? Let's think about our good friend circles. We want our friends to understand, even if they have never experienced our full journey. We want our friends to hold us and understand our perspective. So good, my good white girlfriends, because I got some, you have to see my color because it colors my life. And if you don't understand that, to Sandra's point, we're not having the same conversation. We're not having the same conversation. Okay, I'll stop. Hands up.
So this is just a little question, just a little one. What is the future of BIPOC women and the modern feminist movement? Do we stay and demand intersectionality, or do we find our own footing, or is there a sea? Like what is on your mind right now? What
We have to call it out. I feel like as advocates, when we see it, we must call it out immediately and not worry about being politically correct, not worry about not offending, not worried about not causing an uproar, not worried about being too loud, because in the same way that it can be offensive to hear the truth, it is 10 times more offensive to have to deal with that on a constant basis. And when you sit there, you're enabling it. You know, if you don't speak up, I feel it's, you know, we have the tenacity and the strength to be able to command ears when we speak. Folks listen because they do want to hear what we have to say. And I just, at least for me, I feel it's very important for me to call it out when I see it, exactly as I see it, and call it out exactly as it needs to be said. And, you know, that's the only way to move forward. You know, we can't dance around it. We have to be blatant, you know.
I just want to say yes to that. And I feel like on the other side of that, you know, it's my hope that everyone can also be open to receive it when anyone is speaking truth, right? When we are speaking, for all of us, like, speak truth and hear truth and receive it, and like, you know, really resist the urge to like have to try to say the right thing in the moment or be defensive about it. When, you know, I think the future can really be we can see a great shift in the future when we are open both to speak our truth and to receive the truth, and to not make it, you know, about this one, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm getting a little lost, but I feel like oftentimes somebody will just make, you know, you'll speak a truth, and then the way it's received, it'll be, there's so much guilt and shame and all these other things put around it that the truth can't really, you know, rectify the situation. But if we can just, there's an openness that I feel I wish for the future, both the speaking and the hearing and receiving.
I completely agree with what the co-panelists have said. And I will say that we have to not be afraid. You know, those feelings of guilt, shame, they just push you away. When we get defensive, that's more about us than it is about what I tell folks in our sessions is, for that person to speak their truth to you took an incredible amount of courage and bravery. And if you could focus on that for a second, that will take you to the need beyond the defensiveness that you feel, the guilt and shame that you might feel for something wrong that you have said. And then I'll say this, there is never a too soon of a time to talk to our children about these things as they happen. I have the unique experience of being a Black Latina raising a white child. She is white presenting. And I was confronted with my Blackness when she was 2 years old. She called it. She said, "Your skin is dark." much more than hers. And that's okay. And in that moment, I began to, at first I got, I noticed what happened in my body. I got a little anxious. My heart started pounding. I said, oh gosh, what's going to happen here? This is and then I said, no, this is my opportunity. This is my opportunity to drive home that this Blackness, that this brownness is rich and full of history and full of stories to tell and full of opportunities. And so I get that opportunity more often than I want to, as I was going to the park with her and called the nanny time and time again. And then I just got called it the other day. I thought it was over. But those are all opportunities to open and to talk to our children about these things. Oh, you best believe, first grade Black History Month, we have our own lessons that we learn at home and that we talk about at home. We talk about diaspora, and she knows that word. So, those are the things. It's never too early to speak to our children. So we normalize this conversation. As long as we normalize this uncomfortability that we have in talking about these things in the moment, they start to become a part of our culture. No, we speak to this. We speak truth to this power.
Listen, the fire, I feel the heat from this conversation. At this moment, in our last few moments together, I would love to open the virtual floor to any of our guests that want to speak. I was trying to check the chat a little bit. I saw Rebecca Artis Jackson in the chat. I saw Tanya Lane. These are some people I know. I saw Linda Carn in the chat. I saw some folks in the chat. I'm calling y'all out. Just if you would like to come to the floor, let us know in the chat and we will bring you up, because just want to know your thoughts about this conversation, what it means to you. If any of you all, no pressure, but we would love to hear from everyone who would like to step in and just we want to take the temperature of the room. Can we bring Rebecca up real quick? Because she is out there. I saw her chat was on fire. Rebecca's like, and another thing. So, I like to add another thing, folks.
I look horrible. Can you guys see me?
It does not matter. It does not matter. Do you see my ugly
You're
brown
beautiful.
curtains? Like,
You're
dude,
so beautiful.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh
What are you talking about?
You're
Nobody cares. You're a cutie.
Anyway, so no, but Carla knows I am like super all into this topic. Like that's part of my life's calling, right, Carla?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like, what did you want me to answer? Like, what did you want me to respond to?
No, I just want you to speak to the room. Like, what are your thoughts?
I'm tired of white women. I'm so tired of white women. I am. And I'm at the point in my life where I have no room for their words, because I think they've gotten plenty of opportunity to change, to evolve, to elevate their understanding of coexistence. And I think we are giving them way too much credit. Honestly.
Well, let me ask you a question. Y'all, this is a plant. Rebecca's my baby sister. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? Because this is what we're trying to get to tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What is the barrier, do you think, between the evolution of the conversation with white feminism and the conversation we're having tonight?
Okay, first, and Carla, I think I think feminism is feminism has been invented by white folks, right? Because the reason why feminism is needed is because of this European Judeo-Christian implementation into global society, which is women are nothing. We are not the cradle of humanity, of civilization. Our existence is beneath the penis, right? And so to acknowledge feminism is to acknowledge that ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys understand that? Like,
mm-hmm.
So like to say like, oh, I'm a feminist means you're also pouring energy into misogyny.
There you go.
Mm.
And so that's why, like, I get so frustrated even with Black women who are like, we're Black feminists, I'm a womanist, and blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but the real strong, like, but you're pouring to, it's like saying this, and I know you've heard it from like all these spiritual gurus, to acknowledge bad means you're acknowledging there is, or to acknowledge good means you're also acknowledging bad, right? Oh, you're so good, right? If you tell a child you're so good, you're basically saying you're not bad, right? So I think we need to start to progress. Like if we really, really want to do the work, people, we need to start really acknowledging our vocabulary. We also need to start acknowledging our self-worth as melanated women and understand that we were here before them. We did everything before them. We did even everything before melanated men. We were the first beings on this earth, okay? The whole reason why the calendar exists is because of Black women. The whole reason why math exists is because of Black women. The whole reason why agriculture exists is because of Black women, right? Science, everything, spirituality, is because of us. And so when you start to adopt that and accept that and let that absorb into yourself, everything other people say, honestly, you just go, you're a joke. Like I really, unless you acknowledge the truth, like basic anthropology, like I cannot honestly give you any, if you're trying to say that you're better than me, like you are absolutely a joke. I mean, and maybe that's too deep for people. And that's why I don't, you know, Carla, that's why I don't talk to a lot of women of color about this, because I feel like sometimes I just feel like, it's like, why don't we just accept the basic thing, which is we're everything, because if we didn't exist, all of humanity would die. So well, again, when we go into spaces, and I'm going to say this and then I'll go off because you know me. Because I have to leave. Plus I look horrible and I don't want, because you're recording this, and any 1 minute of me looking like this will be proof that I'm horrible as a person. So like, what I'll say is this, let's bring it back to the arts, which I have, you know, I have over 20 years of experience. I was there in Chicago. I did the whole theater scene. Like even here in North Carolina, unfortunately, I live here, you guys. Yes, I live in North Carolina. But I have dealt with 3 white women here who have made it their life's calling to write about Black women's stories. And why on earth do these local theater companies and these local arts organizations call me to be consults on these projects that these white women playwrights are doing? And every single time I stupidly read these scripts and like I am on fire by the end. And not saying that they're poorly written, but I always end up telling these women why, and can I curse? Okay, well, I won't curse. Okay, why?
I've already said the N-word, so nobody else can do it, okay?
Okay,
no
okay, fine. I'll say, why are you writing about us? That is none of your business anymore. That is an antiquated philosophy that you are writing our story in our voice. And I understand that you feel like, well, I know about this story. No, you know of the story. You don't know about the story of all these Black women here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, who went missing for 10 years. And the sheriff in that county, in Nash County, refused to look for those women because they were most of them were drug addicts and prostitutes. And it was basically deemed that those Black women were not worth spending tax dollars to look for them. And their parents, their mothers had to come, the Black women mothers had to come together and and create their own investigation over the course of 5 years and find what happened and that there was a serial killer. It was a white man, but we're not gonna go.
I saw that.
Okay, so, and here's this white woman writing about this story from the perspective of a white woman, main character. And and now she thinks I'm a horrible person and spread all this. But the problem is, you white women, and I'm gonna say it, you, just like the N-word, you are not allowed to tell our stories anymore. We do not want you to tell our stories. We do not want you in our spaces anymore. And even as women of color, it is our responsibility to say, well, excuse me, why are you here? Just like that woman did to you, Carla. have every right to ask white people, and why are you here? No, I'm sorry. You have plenty of Shakespearean productions to attend. You have plenty of, Tennessee Williams productions to attend. This is our space. Thank you so much.
Pinter. It's a lot of Pinter and Shaw out there.
Okay.
In these
But
streets.
thank you so much. I love you guys. It was a great conversation.
I love you, bye.
Take me off.
Oh.
Hurry up. I don't want to be seen anymore. Wait, what?
You know what?
Why am I still on?
You know, we can't see you, sweetheart. Just go. Just go. You're good. Listen, that's our show. We have bumped overtime. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all, my lovely panel, Simone, Wendy, Minita, and my Sandra, my theater wife. For being here this evening as we close out. I want to also thank each of you in the chat. The chat was on fire for the rich dialogue. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of it. And I want us to keep the conversation going. We have recorded this. We will plop it on YouTube. We're going to cut out clips. I want everybody to just take and forward and share and talk, because this is the work. And if you leave conversations like this and feel happy and fulfilled, that means we didn't dig in deep enough. If you leave conversations like this and feel like, oh, I got everything I need, that means we didn't dig in deep enough, because I got more to say. And
we have to do this every month.
I know, let's talk about this.
All I really want is like a 45-minute dinner break and come back and keep.
I know,
and another
right?
thing.
Because I wanted to talk about Shirley Chisholm and how she helped the Equal Rights Amendment, and then Gloria Steinem was like, "Okay, thanks, bye." Okay, I'm sorry.
Because I got to go all the way to Susan B. Anthony, the first Karen. Okay, the original Karen in the United States.
Yes, you do. You got to write that.
I'm telling you, she was like, I will cut off my arm before I fight for civil rights, for the voting rights of Blacks before women. And because, oh God, Sojourner Truth does a speech right after that and says, well, ain't I a woman? Come on, sis. What is we talking about right now? So yes, this is a larger conversation. Oh, yeah. I get fired up. I thank you all so much. Listen, go to collaboraction.org for more information and sign up for more of these conversations, more of this dialogue. And don't forget to subscribe.
Yes.
To our YouTube channel and watch all the past Crucial Connection episodes, because they have been on fire. In November, we did one with Heather Miller, who is an Indigenous woman in the city of Chicago, who did a whole thing about debunking the Thanksgiving myth. We've done we did one with our friends at Silk Road, where they really went in on that South Asian situation. Like, Collaboration has been doing the work. So please, www.youtube.org/collaboration is in the chat. Please go and get to those.
And we've got some people to thank. This programming on Collaboration's Together Network is made possible by the support from our sponsors, AV Chicago, the Mark and Jeannie Malnati Family Foundation, the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation, and people like you who can make a one-time donation at collaboraction.org or sign up to be a member.
All right, you guys. Thank you all again for joining us. I am going to go run a lap as I cook this steak tonight. I'm fired up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful,
Thank you so
beautiful, beautiful humans that joined me today for this Crucial Connections. We are hyper-local, thinking globally, dismantling oppression of all forms. And we will leave you with a beautiful video from one of our Encounter Inglewood guest. And good night.
Everybody loves Inglewood. And there's a reason why people love Inglewood. It has a lot of style. It has a lot of history. It has a lot of culture. It has beautiful individuals who literally make this community what it is. So many personalities, so many laughs. Inglewood knows how to have a good time. You have events like Greater Inglewood Unity Day, where you get a chance to take all the greatness that Inglewood is and put it into an event. You get to bring all the people who once lived here, worked here, passed by here, grandma used to live here, just want to come here and see all the fun, to come together. But then at the same time, that legacy, that honor is there. This entire time it has been this a caterpillar that's been around, and then I went into my little cocoon. I always had what I needed. My parents always made sure I had what I needed. In addition to having what I needed, there was always this sense of caring for people that was around you, caring for your neighbors, caring for the people on your block. And that was normal to me. That I was raised for that to be normal to me. So growing up, I embraced that, right? I would wake up early on Saturdays and clean up the block with my dad. Being born and raised in Inglewood, you have no sense of what type of neighborhood you really live in growing up. Freshman year of high school, when I lost my friend Starkeisha Reed, that's when reality kind of set in. I just realized Inglewood was Inglewood, or this place that I didn't want to be in anymore. The fear that just lays on you at a young person when you lose a friend to gun violence. But it was something in her loss that made me realize that it's so weird to say like that could have been me, right? Because she simply was just getting ready for school. Bullet come through the window because of drive-by in the morning. So, but in some sense it was like, this could be me. And so it's like, all right, so like, what can I do in my life? Like that always was something that was put in the back of my mind. Like, let me shine. Like, let's just let me shine as bright as I can, and in honor of Star and all those who lost their lives. So I went to Howard University, and I was just extremely active in the DC area. So from Target Hope to Relay for Life at Howard University, Girl Scout leader, Readers Are Leaders program, tutoring in elementary school in Southeast DC. I couldn't help myself. And I realized in this work, it's not just about issues that affect you. It's about fighting for issues that affect your friends and affect your family and affect your neighbor. And that's, again, community. Doing community work was what I was good at, and connecting with people was what I was good at, and getting people to volunteer and serve in the community was just something that was so familiar to me. So it was healing for me to be able to help other people. But 2016, I don't know what happened in the city of Chicago. It's actually pretty similar to what's kind of happening now, but violence just shot up. And I just remember in Inglewood, every other weekend, if it wasn't my brother's friend who was shot, then it was somebody else I knew that was shot and or killed. And it was just like, this is crazy. And at this time, I'm living back at home, 68th and Wood, the great 68th. And I'm just like, no one's outside. So the idea of building community as children that I remember growing up, that didn't exist. Like, there was no kids riding bikes. There was no seniors sitting on their porch. There was literally no life on our block because of what was happening. It just wasn't safe to come outside. Oh, let's start a block club. Let's do a block party. And so I just start asking around, like, when's the last time we had a block club? Because I couldn't necessarily remember one as a kid. I feel like something did happen. And I'm asking around, and they're like, 1995 is the last time we had a block party. And so then I sat down with the then executive director of Imagining With, and I'm just like, I'm here to help. Like, I'm just here to help. And she was like, I don't have anything for right now, but when something comes up, I'll let you know. I'm like, okay, cool. Put you on the back burner. But then when I started connecting with some of the people that I knew while at Imagining With, like Dermot Montgomery and Anise Moses and a couple of other folks who were just like, do you know Aisha Butler? Do you know Aisha Butler? And I'm like, I don't know who this Aisha Butler is. So let me go track her down, because that's that person I am. Like, I see something, I want it, I go get it. And magically, Rage was looking for a part-time program coordinator. So although I just met her, like, she don't know me. So I sent her my resume, do a nice little cover letter. And, eventually she called me back and we had like an interview and she selected me for this spot. But eventually Rage had funds for me to come on full time. And so I had to stop working really through SWAP. And then October 2017, I got a call from a couple of board members at Imagining What If, and we're just like, yeah, so, we see all the great work that you're doing in the community. You're a product of the organization. I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks. Guys, I appreciate you always support me. I was like, no, actually, we were thinking you be executive director of Imagining What If. I didn't want to say this out loud, but I'm thinking like I'm 25. Huh? Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, what? Like, no, I didn't sign up for that. I just want to play the background. I just want to do the hard work. I just want to, add strength to something that's happening. I'm like, no. So it'll be 4 years this October since I said yes. And it's been a journey. I really believe in the quote by Frederick Douglass that goes, it is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. And I think IEI is in the business of building strong children who will build a stronger Inglewood. And so next is creating a community center that can bring beautiful programs in that young people can enjoy. There is a lack of youth development spaces that exist within the community. And when we look at all that's happening in the world and the gaps that we need to fill, the different industries that are still celebrating. We have the first of this, like the first African-American blank, and that are just coming to light. Like, that's ridiculous to me. You can't reverse trauma, but I do think that you can provide young people with experience and opportunity to overcome some of those adverse childhood experiences. Now that I am definitely this butterfly, who knows where I'll be when my wings just are fully spread and I'm just flying.